Macca's Guides.
Hey guys, Macca here. Welcome to the 10 easiest gaming completions of 2016, where we count down the easiest and the fastest gamer score you can get from this year. Now, we also did this video last year where Clash was crowned the winner, and I've made a video that is the complete opposite of this, where we counted down the 10 hardest games of the year. Now, a couple of rules before we get started. Obviously, the game had to come out in 2016. I will be assuming that you're willing to use a guide in order to cut down on your time for the completion, and we won't be counting some platform exclusives like Fire Ung's Quest, which is only available on Windows 10, and My Name is Mayo, which is a really easy completion where you can get 2 platinum trophies in under an hour on the PlayStation. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I do tweet about a lot of these games when they come out, so feel free to follow me on Twitter if that's something you're into. Additionally, I've also streamed a lot of these games on Twitch from front to back, and hopefully some of you were entertained. Now, almost on a daily basis, I get asked what some of the easiest games are, and what I've done is I've set up some references for you guys to keep track. Now, these references are going to be available on reddit.com/r/Macca91productions, which is my personal subreddit, and in that subreddit, I've spent the last year listing all of the easy completions that come out based on their date. I've also then summarized this list and made a top 20 list for 2016, and will continue to make a new list for 2017, and I will update it as these games come out. That's going to be a very easy point for you guys to reference some of the easiest games as they come out, as well as recommend games for me to add to the list either by leaving a comment or tweeting me. Again, please check the link in the description. There's a lot of really good information out there for achievement hunters. So in today's video, we'll be counting down the top 10 easiest games of the year, and I've also went ahead and ranked games 11 through 20. But before we get into that, we do have a couple of honorable mentions. You guys were so easy, but just not easy enough. This includes games like Factotum 90, Virginia, The Walking Dead Michonne, Super Knight Riders, iZombie, and the Jackbox Party Pack 3. Now, in order to calculate the top 20, I did use a formula in Excel where I put in the amount of time a game takes and how hard it is, and then it spit out a number telling me how hard that game was, and I did put an emphasis on the amount of time it takes because I trust that you guys have enough skill to complete most of the games on this list. A bunch of the games listed from 11 through 20 ended up being a tie, so don't take these too seriously. In at number 20, we have Firewatch. In at number 19, we have Inside. In at number 18 is Dear Esther Landmark Edition. For the 17th spot, we have Roblox. And for the 16th spot, we have Coffin Dodgers. In at the 15th spot, we have The Bunker. In 14th, we have Horse Racing 2016. In 13th, we have Cell Damage HD. In 12th, we have Monster Jam Crush It. And in the 11th spot, we have The Little Acre. Now we can get into the top 10. Alright, so starting down the countdown, in the number 10 spot and also winning the award for longest game title of the year is Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary Edition World Tour. Now, this game's only going to take the average person between an hour and a half to 3 hours, and although the list might seem extremely difficult, you are allowed to use the in-game cheats in order to grab all of the achievements and trophies. For example, you have to find 70 secret areas, but you can just turn on the clipping cheat and walk through every wall in the game. Next up, you might have to use a certain weapon, so you'll just use the unlock all weapons cheat and then use the weapon you'll need. After that, you might notice that you have to complete all 5 of the worlds in the game, which would actually take a really long time, but luckily, you don't actually have to complete every individual level in a world. You only have to complete the boss battle at the end of the world for everything else to unlock. Now, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. There is a little bit of difficulty with navigating some of the later levels, even if you're using all the cheats. There is a little bit of boosting at the end in order to make sure you have enough enemy kills. And you will probably need a guide in order to find some of the hidden items that are specifically tied to achievements and trophies. All in all, though, it might not be the absolute easiest completion, but it's definitely fast, and the worst part about it is that the game is $20, and it's never been on sale, at least yet. It does, however, play decently, although it doesn't play that great. Next up, the 9th game on the list, and one of the easiest, is Fragments of Him. Fragments of Him is essentially a walking simulator where you watch the game more than you play it, and you click a couple of highlighted objects every now and again during the 2 to 3 hour story. All in all you really need to do there is have about 2 to 3 hours of time to sit there and complete the game, which is exhaustingly easy, although it's a little bit longer in comparison to some of the other games on this list. In at the number 8 spot, I have Abzu, which reinvents the walking simulator by making it a swimming simulator. This game is nothing more than an interactive experience and a very pretty game to look at, but yet another game with very shallow game mechanics and not much depth in the gameplay. Now, my full game walkthrough, link in the description, is about an hour and a half long and will take you through the entire game, showing you everything you'll need to do, which includes obviously beating the story, but also includes things like collecting the 51 collectibles and doing a couple of miscellaneous tasks like finding a certain fish or visiting a certain area. Now, the game isn't difficult at all. The only thing that might be a little difficult is the fact that because you're in open water, you can move freely in 3D space, and it might be a little bit disorienting, and there aren't that many landmarks in each area to figure out exactly where you are if you're referencing a guide. Add to that most collectibles are densely packed in open areas, and then there's long segments between the areas with nothing, and the puzzles are really easy. The completion doesn't get much easier than this, although it is a little bit on the longer end at an hour and a half. I can't believe I'm saying that, but compared to some of the other games we had this year, it is a little bit on the longer end. Moving on from one walking simulator to another, at the number 7 spot, we have Among the Sleep. Yet another game where the full game walkthrough clocks in at under an hour and a half, in this case 1 hour and 15 minutes, link in the description. Among the Sleep is a first-person adventure horror game which plays very similarly to about every walking simulator you've ever played, where you're told a story about the person you're playing. In this case, you play a baby. For the most part, the completion will ask you to complete the actual story of the game, do a few really easy miscellaneous tasks, and then collect all 50 of the in-game drawings, which work similar to any other collectible in any other game. You just find them and then pick them up. So when you have a walking simulator that only takes an hour and a half and is easily completed alongside a guide, it makes it a pretty easy game, which is why this game comes in at number 7, even though I honestly don't recommend the game because it's really not that great. In at the number 6 spot is my personal Game of the Year 2016, Ben-Hur. Alright, so we all know this game is absolute trash, but luckily it was free as part of a promotion for the movie. Even though it's free, it's still not worth the money, if that's even possible, and it probably doesn't even deserve the hard drive space it takes up. However, that doesn't stop it from being a really easy completion, doable for some people in as little as 30 minutes, although some people find it a little bit more difficult and take up to 2 or 3 hours, which is why it's not higher up on the list. The reason that there's a little bit of discrepancy in the amount of time it takes to complete this game is because there's a couple of tricks you'll need to know in order to make sure you don't play the game more than once. An entire playthrough will take you about 20 minutes, but you'll need a perfect playthrough. So if you screw something up, you'll have to restart another 20-minute block before you can actually complete the game. Now, in order to complete the game, you'll need to complete a season, which is basically just 3 races. The races are 1 lap, 2 laps, and then a 3-lap race. And in those races, you'll need to take out all 5 of the other chariots, essentially completing what is a perfect season. You then might also have to grind out a couple of whip kills. Now, after that, the completion is yours. Yes, really, it is that simple. What makes it difficult is that it's a little bit hard to tell if a kill counts as yours, or if it's just a guy who ran off the course and hit a wall kind of on his own. So yeah, there's a little bit of that mystery of not knowing at the end of a race if it was actually your kill or not, which is why you'll have to restart sometimes. But there you go, that's number 6 on the list, and it's free. However, there is an easier free game coming next. And the award for the easiest free game on the list is NBA 2K17 The Prelude, which is essentially just a demo for NBA 2K17, and I personally completed this game in exactly an hour and a half flat. Most people will have extremely similar experiences to mine, as there is not much flexibility in this linear demo. Now, even though it is a little bit longer than some of the games we talked about before, it's actually significantly easier. You can put your controller down for more than half of the time you'll be playing this. Basically, all you need to do to complete this game is create a character, then go through a little bit of a mini college career in which you don't actually have to play the games. You can just put your controller down for 5 minutes and wait for them to play themselves, and then you'll just need to complete the 10-minute tutorial. Really, it is that easy. During the hour and a half you play, you'll be watching about 20 minutes of cinematics where you can put your controller down. You'll be playing about 30 minutes of basketball games, which you can put your controller down for, and you'll be playing a tutorial, which again, you can put your controller down for. The user input necessary to complete this game is virtually zero. You might need like a little tiny bit of knowledge about how basketball works, but if you have access to guides, there really shouldn't be many issues. As a side note, I think this is a little bit of a low for the achievement system. Achievements in a demo is a little tacky. In at the number 4 position, we have, yep, you guessed it, yet another walking simulator. This time it's The Park, which is done in 45 minutes. You can even take your own time and do it in an hour if you don't want to use a guide, although you might have to revisit a couple areas after. This is another first-person adventure horror game, but this time you play an older woman inside of an amusement park. During your 45-minute playthrough, you'll find yourself visiting a bunch of different rides inside of the amusement park, finding a couple of collectibles and miscellaneous tasks, and then figuring out the ultimate end of what is the story. There's also going to be a bunch of sections in the game where you're just being told the story and you're just sitting back and watching, so the amount of user input again is pretty minimal for a vast majority of the game, and all you really end up doing is just walking to the next cutscene. Overall, I didn't actually mind this game. I thought it was pretty decent, although it wasn't great. It was short enough that you didn't really see the flaws as badly, and it was entertaining enough and had a little bit of a twist at the end, which made it somewhat enjoyable. In at the number 3 position, yet another walking simulator. This is the easiest walking simulator on the list this year, and that is Gone Home, which came out at the very beginning of the year. Now, if you have absolutely no idea what you're doing, this game can take you over an hour, but honestly, if you browse some guides before you get started, it shouldn't take you longer than 40 minutes. Now, even though it is really short, it does require just a little bit of skill, especially in terms of being able to follow a guide at a rapid pace, as most of the achievements and trophies are locked behind some kind of prerequisite other than just completion. For example, you'll need to beat the game in under 1 minute, you'll need to get a 100% playthrough in under 10 minutes, you'll need to find a couple of miscellaneous tasks, and then you'll need to find all of the behind-the-scenes commentary nodes in commentary mode. Now, honestly, I think that makes it sound way more complicated than it actually is. It's really not that bad, and for what the game is, if you've never played it, it is actually probably worth experiencing, in my opinion, although most people will say it's way overpriced and way overrated. However, that doesn't stop it from being the 3rd easiest game of the year on my list. And the first runner-up, the 2nd easiest game of the year, is Cubot, a puzzle game where you solve the puzzles by inputting a series of commands to get the blocks to go in the holes. Now, this game universally will pretty much take everyone between 45 minutes to an hour. The reason that this game is so easy is because you'll spend the majority of your time looking on your cell phone or laptop at the solutions to the puzzles instead of actually looking at your screen. Now, what I mean by that is that the game has exactly 80 puzzles, and every puzzle has a unique solution to it, and those solutions are posted online, telling you the inputs you'll need via the directional sticks on your controller. So all you need to do is select the level from the menu and then use your directional pad to input the commands that'll create the solution. The completion will essentially be you doing all 80 puzzles in the game as fast as possible using the perfect solutions to do so. And that's going to take you about 45 minutes to an hour and involves very little skill, hence the game getting the second position on the list. Another good thing about this game is that it only costs $2. And last but not least, the number one fastest and easiest game on the Xbox One this year was none other than Energy Cycle. Energy Cycle is essentially the perfect storm of what it is to have an easy game. It's pretty much the easiest game we've had since Avatar: The Last Airbender came out almost 10 years ago. The reason that it's practically a perfect storm is because it's a puzzle game with unique solutions and a low amount of content, meaning it can be breezed through extremely quickly, sometimes in under 15 minutes. It also only costs $3, which definitely helps its case with achievement hunters. In order to grab the completion in this game, you'll need to complete all 28 levels. Each level is a unique puzzle, and each unique puzzle has a solution which you can easily access via a picture guide on Steam or try to follow along a video, although it might be more difficult. Essentially, in the game, you'll be trying to click circles of energy, which can have one of 3 colors. As you click it, it'll change the color of the circle as well as all of the circles in the same horizontal or vertical line as the one you're clicking. This game has the potential to be a very difficult completion if the puzzles were randomized or if there were no solutions posted online. However, neither of those are true, and therefore the game can be easily done in around 15 to 25 minutes by the average gamer, and it's going to be exceptionally easy to do so. There's really not much thought that goes into it. Therefore, without a doubt, the easiest game of the year is Energy Cycle. Thank you guys so much for watching the top 10. I have included guide links to every single game in the top 10 in the description, so if you're looking at getting those complete, all your resources are there. I've also included a link to an Amazon purchase page if you need the Xbox Live credit to purchase some of these indie games. As for my personal experience, I have completed the vast majority of the games listed in the top 20. I think I've done at least 15 to 16 of them, and will probably finish off the rest within the next few months. You'll also probably notice that I covered a decent amount of these games with either full game walkthroughs or with an episode of the completed series, so please check those out as well. Now, you've probably noticed that this year's list was even easier than last year's list. The top 10 in this video will take you around 11 hours, and all of the top 20 will take you around 30 hours. That's 20,000 Gamerscore in 30 hours, which is definitely a significant step up in terms of speed, and hopefully people can start getting into even bigger and bigger milestones, and hopefully we start getting more ports as well. Please let me know in the comments down below if you've completed all 10 games in the top 10, or if you plan on it. Let me know if you disagree with any of the points I made during the video in a constructive way, and I will reply. Thank you guys so much for watching. Special thanks to Drop Dead Artemis for supporting the show on Patreon, and hopefully I see you guys next time. Peace.